welcome one and all. And of course, I'll be live in the studio in less than an hour, taking your live calls on the things I want to talk about now and much more. So subscribe if you're new. Um, I want to talk about the Charlie Kirk trial and the coverage I'm watching. Okay, because you know, I'm watching the coverage, and I know that, a lot of the conservative influencers are covering it, and they knew Charlie. Some of them worked at Turning Point, and the coverage is spending a lot of time. What's going on now in the Charlie Kirk trial is a preliminary hearing. Evidence is getting introduced and things, and the shooter is being established as the shooter. A lot of evidence came out. They have his DNA on the weapon. They have proof that he was there on campus for a long time. All this stuff. And what a lot of the conservative influencers are talking about, they're all missing the point of what's going on here. They're trying to discredit Candace Owens. And I think that a lot of the conservative influencers that are covering the Charlie Kirk trial, they're either too close to it and don't see what's really going on. They're too focused on exposing Candace Owens, who's already being discredited as the information comes out. They don't need help to discredit her. Candace Owens does a fine job of discrediting herself every time she presses record, on her camera. But they're missing the point here. No one questions whether the shooter was there or even the shooter, but there's a bigger picture here, and I stand by that. I believe that this guy was recruited by evildoers, and that Charlie Kirk was targeted as a major political assassination to bring down the MAGA movement. I don't think that the shooter wasn't the shoot. I don't say the names of these people. Okay, I know a lot of people like to say their names and everything all the time. I'm not gonna say the names of these assassins and evildoers, but um, and we know about the furries and all that stuff. I believe he was recruited probably through that furry weirdo movement in a Discord server, wherever, and to do this. And that's to me what the story is. I mean, that shot was, I mean, the top marksman in the world, some of them wouldn't be able to make a shot like that. I mean, come on. So how did he get so skilled? Who recruited him? What was the bigger thing here? Just to sit around and try to make this, well, Candace Owens was wrong. Everybody knows that. She's a nutcase who's a bitter, jealous ex-lover who is insanely jealous of Erica Kirk, because she wants to be the grieving widow, and Charlie Kirk dumped her years ago, probably because she's always been nuts. We just didn't know about it. And I really think these conservatives that I've seen so far cover the Charlie Kirk trial are missing the bigger picture here. This is, um, I don't think anyone questioned whether the shooter was the shooter and that he was there, other than Candace Owens. Charlie Kirk was so important to the MAGA movement. He was the second most important person in the MAGA movement. Of course, the most important is President Trump. And Charlie Kirk was the second most important person in the MAGA movement for all kinds of things. The Democrats lost the youth vote because of Charlie Kirk. And there's many other things too. But Turning Point USA had become the most successful conservative grassroots activist organization of my lifetime. There's been other uh, conservative groups over the years. None of them did what Charlie did. And well, thank you. Welcome to the new subscriber there. Appreciate that. No one did what Charlie Kirk did, right? Actually go to groups of people that were assumed and given to be liberal Democrats and turn them into MAGA conservatives. And that's what Charlie did at colleges and high schools. And he was growing and growing and growing the movement. It was amazing. And he did a lot of other things too for the president, but they killed him because of it. And there's been a lot of damage done to our movement, which we may never recover from. There's been no one that's been able to stand up and take the place of Charlie Kirk. And the Turning Point USA is a shell of its former self. I mean, they do good stuff still. They still have events. I saw a good piece. They had one of their reporters, Savannah Hernandez, did this report I saw yesterday from this homeless library in Austin, Texas. And, that's good. But are they turning young people into conservatives like they were before? Are they converting young people into conservatives like they were and waking them up? And I don't think so, at least not in the numbers they were before. And that was the purpose of the Never Trumpers assassinating Charlie Kirk. And that's the bigger thing. The conspiracy around it was the shooter. Did he just decide to do this on his own, or was he recruited? Who recruited him? How did he become the greatest marksman in history with that shot? Or was it a lucky? There's all these things. I don't think it was a lucky shot. I think he was well trained. He was recruited and trained. And these are problems. I mean, these are problems, and no one's talking about that. It's almost like the way I'll tell you, the way that the conservative influencers that I've seen cover the Charlie Kirk trial, and these are people, some of them you like Benny Johnson and others, but they're acting like a modern day Warren Commission. The Warren Commission. And if you don't know what that is, look it up. I don't, I can't, it's early in the morning. I can't go through, but the Warren Commission, the purpose of the Warren Commission was to cover up the Kennedy assassination and get this idea that Lee Harvey Oswald was, did I say Austin with the library? What city did I say? I don't know. I haven't had my coffee yet. I got it and I've been talking and haven't had it. Well, letting it cool off. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought because I haven't had any caffeine today. Oh yeah, the Warren Commission's purpose was to establish that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman who acted alone. That there was no conspiracy behind Lee Harvey Oswald. And that's just a bunch of garbage. And we all know that. And what these conservative influencers are doing, knowingly, or I'm not saying they're knowingly doing this. I think, like Benny Johnson and others, they're so close to this. And they were friends with Charlie Kirk. And a lot of it may be, they have a loyalty to Turning Point. They're maybe trying to become more prominent at Turning Point and make I don't know, but their focus is on Candace Owens was wrong. The trial's blown out of the water, her entire conspiracy. What a waste of breath. So when I say that they're acting like a Warren Commission, the conservative influencers covering the Charlie Kirk trial are establishing for the evil doers, the Never Trumpers who are behind the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And remember, the same people that assassinated Charlie Kirk are the same people that were behind Butler, Pennsylvania, with President Trump, and the golf course too. Okay, it's the same people. It was the same people. All right, and these conservative influencers are working like the Warren Commission to establish that this monster was a lone gunman who acted alone. And I don't believe that. So tell me yes or no. Do you agree with me that that Charlie Kirk was assassinated by some conspiracy of Never Trumpers to bring down the MAGA movement? Yes or no? And the no would mean you believe that Tyler, this lunatic, I said his first name, I apologize, but that this monster, with all his perversions just woke up and did this? Yes or no? Do you agree with me that there's a much larger conspiracy to the Charlie Kirk assassination? Yeah, I mean, come on. Come on. I mean, that doesn't mean that he didn't do it. Of course he did it, but there's something bigger here. Oswald did it too. Oswald did it too. I don't know that there were. I'm not saying there were multiple people there. No, 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 no. What I'm saying is that he was recruited. He was recruited, probably in that furry Discord room that he was in. You know, and when people get recruited and become patsies like this, it doesn't mean they're aware of it. You're right. They don't go to some nutbag like this and say, "Hey, we're with the, we're recruiting you to do this." They they make them think that they're acting alone, right? They don't know. He doesn't know he doesn't know that he's a patsy. Lee Harvey Oswald knew, but this guy doesn't know that he's a patsy. Mm-mm. And it's really frustrating for me to watch the coverage. I don't agree with um, Candace Owens' conspiracies. I believe that the people that tried to, you got to understand, when they shot the president in Butler, the what had happened was they did everything they could do to stop President Trump from running, right? All these fake arrests and court cases and all this bull crap. And um, their internal polling told them he was going to win, that his support was too big. So they shot him in Butler. And their plan was for Butler to go a different direction. And he survived Butler because the PowerPoint presentation that he went over on the illegal crossings was on the opposite side of the stage that it normally is, which threw the assassin off. That was his cue. And if it had been on the side of the stage it always was on, Butler would have turned out different. And they were going to plug Nikki Haley as the nominee for the Republicans with her running mate, Ron DeSantis. That was their plan. I'm not saying that Nikki Haley and DeSantis were involved in anything, but that was the plan of the Never Trumpers, and it failed. And then they tried it again a couple months later at the golf course. And the same people that did that uh, assassinated Charlie Kirk. I mean, that's it, you know. And there's no question that this guy did it. Of course, he did it. Everybody knows this. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. The next stream, which will be in about 30 minutes, a little less, or so, but I'll be in the studio taking your live calls. All right. This coffee is it cooled off enough to drink yet? I hope so, because I need my caffeine fix. Mm-mm. Still too hot. It is boiling, boiling hot. No, the Never Trumpers did it. The Never Trumpers did it, just like Butler, just like the golf course. That's it. And it just pisses me off to watch this Warren Commission conservative influencer group um, establish the assassin acted alone narrative. And I don't know if they're aware of it or not. I really don't. So I'm gonna cover this on the morning show today. It's not my lead story, but I am going to cover this and many other things on the morning show today. So make sure you don't miss it and take your live calls. But no, nope. And that shot, one shot like that, no way, no way. And if you look, you know the the tactic used in the Charlie Kirk assassination was almost a carbon copy of the Butler. The Butler had the cue point with the PowerPoint. There was a cue with the question, the trans question, and then he fired. That was the cue for this one, right? It's obvious. And the shot was insane. I'm sorry that I saw the video. I wish I wouldn't have seen it. Yep. Yes, welcome. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Um, but it's very upsetting to watch. And you know And I don't think we're ever going to know the truth. I mean, and look what happened. All these years of wanting the JFK files, they release all the JFK files. There's nothing in there. See, these people that do these illegal things don't document their crimes. Criminals don't document their crimes, even when they're inside the government, right? Yeah, one of the reasons I don't talk about the Charlie Kirk stuff so much is because every time I do, I get that image in my mind that I wish I wouldn't have seen, you know? But I hope to hear from you on the phones about that. I also have new polls showing the red wave, the sweep we're going to have in the midterms. I'm going to go over that and a whole bunch more on the show this morning. There's a lot to cover. Nope, you cannot unsee it. Nope, you cannot unsee it. No doubt about that. Mm-mm. Athens, Georgia. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, it looks like most people agree with me that there's a vast, larger conspiracy around the Charlie Kirk assassination. You got to understand, patsies don't always know they're patsies, right? Patsies don't always know they are patsies. Hmm. And he probably does not know he's a patsy, but there's no question he did it. I mean, anybody doubt it? I mean, he's the actual shooter. You know, what does that mean? On the roof, like Butler, a cue for the shooting, like in Butler, to find for the shot, everything. I mean, it's the same. It's the same people. You can tell the same pattern, and they always recruit losers, right? These are both Butler, the golf course, and Charlie Kirk, all losers, rejected losers, bums, right? That's their perfect. Oswald was different. He was an operative. Oswald was a deep state operative, and he knew it. I mean, think about it. He defected to the Soviet Union, and he was married. His wife, Oswald's wife, was the daughter of a general in the Soviet Union's army, and they let him back into the country after he defected to the Soviet Union during the height of the Cold War. Give me a break. Give me a break. A definite deep state operative, and he knew it. But we'll never know all the details because there's no records. The files are useless, you know. And the same is true with Charlie Kirk and Butler. I mean, some things came out this week about the Secret Service and Butler. It will never get to the bottom of Butler either. You're not meant to. Part of the operation is making sure there's no way to get to who's behind it. And then when people start talking about things like I am, they start to paint you as nuts and distract and everything else. I mean, who believes that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone with Kennedy? Give me a freaking break. Give me a freaking break. I don't believe in coincidences. The stars aligned too well in Dallas on that day. Same thing in Utah with Charlie. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Yeah, this coffee, I gotta add cream to it. It is lacking cream. I'm not into. It's got some cream in it, but I would rather have it black than just a little bit of cream. Yeah, the damage that they did with the assassination of Charlie Kirk, we're never going to recover from fully, and that's why they did it. I didn't realize. I knew he was important, but I didn't realize how important he was until he was gone. I really didn't, you know. And there's been a few people that have tried to take over that role, but no one's going to be able to do it. There's very few people that have that charisma and movie star quality. You know, it's just not going to happen. And there's a lot of people that are circling, like sharks trying to get it, but it's just not it's not going to happen. And I hope that some of these conservative influencers start covering in more detail what I'm talking about. You know, a lot. I talk about this a lot. The conservative influencers, a lot of them become very self-important, very self-important. I heard the other day the first time the influencer class being used. Right. Oh, here comes the cop that put the spotlight on me the other day. Now that he saw me, he probably won't have to do that. He knows what that. He knows me now. He's on his patrol around the building. He just went behind the building, so he'll be around in a minute. Yeah, I miss Charlie too. You know, a lot of this crap that's going on in these midterms with these Democrat socialist commies would not have happened if he were alive. He was very, Charlie Kirk did a lot of things, but he was very also good at churning out the vote. That was one of the things he did, and we could use that in some of these races. But the polls are looking very good for us, and there's some seats that are looking to flip Republican. So I'm going to cover that on the show this morning, as well as the latest on Mitch McConnell, because there's some important things on Mitch McConnell. In fact, my lead story involves Mitch McConnell. I'm not going to get into it now because that's what I'm going to open with today on the morning show in just a little bit, so you won't want to miss that. Because there's been some big developments with the Mitch McConnell story that I'm going to cover. Yep, make sure you subscribe if you're new, and also like the video, okay, guys? And this is most definitely where MAGA comes to talk. Now, those of you that are Patreon supporters, I did a live stream at 4:46 a.m. and I asked some questions of you guys. I'm looking for your response to them. So before I go on the air, I'm going to go to the Patreon video that I did, the live stream, and look at your responses to those questions. Yeah, there's some big new things with Mitch McConnell I'm going to cover. I'm going to lead with today. But not now, because that's what I'm going to lead with. So I don't want to do it twice. But I will go over the polls. I will talk more about Charlie Kirk. And there's also something very dangerous happening with Graham Plattner that I haven't covered yet that I'm going to get to. There's one thing, though. Yeah, there's the spotlight cop. He's on patrol at the gas station next door. Guess he's done here. Now he knows me, so, Yes, rehab. I'm addicted to coffee, espresso. I wish I wasn't. I've tried to give it up, but I can't. Um, but one thing I'll mention right now, though, about Plattner, they got another one of his girlfriends, one of his ex-girlfriends, said that Graham Plattner would sneak without telling her and take off his condom during sex without telling her, and she wasn't on birth control. And I've never heard of a guy doing that before. That's pretty scummy. Um, is that would you consider that to be an assault? Right? So his ex-girlfriend said that he would, without her knowledge, remove his condom during sex, and he knew she wasn't on birth control. But is that an assault? I would say yes. I would say, yeah. I would agree. That's an assault. I would agree with that. That is an assault. Yeah, I would agree with. Yeah, that's my thought. But I throw that out there to the ladies. I would consider that an assault. No question about it. He is a real creeper. I don't see what women like in this guy. Who are these women that want to have sex with Graham Plattner? I mean, is he all that? I mean, would any of you ladies would you brag about having sex with Graham Plattner? Is he the kind of guy you would brag about? I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, it is assault. I consider it assault. Yeah, I most definitely consider it assault, but he's just But what they're doing with Graham Plattner is incredibly dangerous, what the Democrats are doing right now. So I'm going to cover that as well today, and I'll tell you what that is on the show. All right, guys, I got to get going back to the studio and get set up to be on the air. If you're new, my name's Brian. Make sure you subscribe, click the notification bell. I'll be live in less than 30 minutes in the